Okay, now we're here in the water and Lars is going to show us how he casts and how he fishes and how he also managed the shooting line. Like you see, you have this, I'm not sure, what do you call it when you have all these, you call it like loops?
Slings.
Slings, loops,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, for today's conditions, we have about 13 degrees in the water. I'm fishing a float, sink 2 belly, sink 2 front. Try and swing it quite fast here with a relatively small fly. We're talking wing length maybe around 3.5–4 centimeter. Here I don't necessarily want to mend and lift the rod and steer too much. I want to use as much of the current as possible to swing that fly around in a nice enough speed. But if we'd been fishing in colder water, after the line would have landed, I would have lifted up my rod with a sinking line and holded it out like this. Sometimes we'd even wade quite far out just to get more reach. What happens then is I slow down the drift, and as it comes down a little bit in the drift, I'll let the rod follow. Again, to simply slow down it and make sure that the drift becomes deep and slower, and that's simply due to lower temperature in the water, and I want to fish the fly deeper in those conditions.
How many degrees is it now, you think? Have you set it?
Yeah, 13. About 13 now,
okay.
yeah. So
sorry.
If we back up the tape 2.5 weeks ago, we had about 7 degrees in the water.
All right.
And then we're using much bigger flies and much heavier lines. As you can see, when I'm casting or in between casts, I hold a sling normally when I fish. I don't believe it's necessary, but I've gotten used to it. But when I'm retrieving, I normally count, and I'll make, depending on the length of the cast, but I'll carry maybe around 3 slings like this.
And how do you manage? Do you put them in between?
I hold them between 2 fingers here.
Okay, yeah.
And that's just to keep some of the line out of the water. So when I want to shoot this line, I just straighten my fingers like that, and the line goes out. So just a little bit about management. And I think one of the really important issues that we don't talk about enough is actually handling bigger fish, which we have here. And this is one of the really interesting things about our rivers, is they carry really big fish, but that's actually the hook set and what you do after that.
Yep.
Where I often use a sling, I'll let the salmon take that sling, but then I only lean into it. I never strike a fish. And the reason for that is that a lot of the times when we're fishing on hard water and heavy currents, if you strike them really hard, they have a tendency just to turn around and piss off really, really quick.
Yeah.
And that normally does not help your situation. One of the pools we fish here a lot, and that we land a lot of fish in, it's called boat pool. It's right on a V-neck, and when we have 600, 700, 800 cubic meters per second, if they go down fast. So what you want to try and do is let go of that sling, or simply just lift into the fish, but quite gentle.
All right.
The hooks will set anyway. And then after those first head butts and head shakes, they'll actually often drop down and stay quite still. And that's when we do the trick walk the dog.
Oh yeah.
Where you start walking upstream, actually pulling the fish with you until you're all the way up in the end of the pool, and then you start putting pressure on them up there instead. And that works most of the time. I would say 9 out of 10 times that works, and that I'm sure that makes us land more fish because we control.
Some big ones has been landed here in Kengis Bruk. What's the biggest? 125 centimeters.
128.
28. Oh.
Yeah. So 40 pound plus. And then I don't know how many 30 plus, but many throughout the years.
Yeah. This is the place to come if you want to have the chance to catch your salmon of a lifetime. You don't necessarily go here for numbers, but you go for when you want to catch the big one.
Yeah, I mean the rivers are big and demanding, and the Baltic salmon is a species on its own. Whether it's harder or easier to catch, I'm not gonna try and describe. I think people should figure that one out by trying.
Yep, for sure.
But no, you come here for the chance of hooking that really big fish.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
doesn't mean that's what we get all the time. I think we have an average around 15 pound.
Yep.
But
This year so far it's 111 centimeters, right?
yeah, the biggest,
the biggest
for the season,
one.
yeah.
And then a couple around 90, 95.
Yeah,
Those.
most of them are between 85 and maybe a couple of 90 centimeters.
Yeah, which still is a great fish, but in this place it's a decent fish, they say. Normally that's like a fish of a lifetime as well, but they are big in the beginning of the season here. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I would say most seasons we will eventually hook one and land one pressing 115.
yeah,
That's the normal.
yeah. Last 2019 you had a great week.
Yeah, well, the whole season
Yeah.
was pretty much filled with big fish. Then, of course, the weather and water temperature always plays in. But we had it was a big fish year where we had much more of the bigger fish. So I think the week we were fishing ourselves.
I think, didn't you say like from 110 up to 120 centimeters on each centimeter mark?
Yeah, except for one, I think.
Okay.
I think
All
we
right.
didn't. I'm not sure if we caught a 113, but otherwise from
Okay.
110 to 120, everything.
All right. Yeah, that's good.
But that's the first time as well. So I mean, that was extreme.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'll continue down here.
Yep. Catch one.
No, I'll try.